The Blokebusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network, where you can find us as well as other excellent podcasts such as Sarcasm City, Worst Millennials, and Late Night Gamers at podbros.com. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the Blokebusters podcast.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Who's got off? Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
And this is?
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Houston, we have a problem.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Now, where was I?
Welcome to episode 115 of the Blokebusters podcast. I'm Paul, and today I'm joined once again by my good friend Pat. How you doing?
Doing good. Welcome back. Thanks for having me back on.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, it's getting a bit too comfortable there, apparently.
I guess I am, So it's late night in the evening. You start to lose cognitive ability, all that fun jazz.
Yeah. Who needs sleep, really?
Yeah, yeah, right.
Alright, so today we're going to be talking about, depending on exactly how you want to go about it, it's Alita Battle Angel, which is based on Battle Angel Alita. So it can be either way. I'm probably going to end up saying Battle Angel Alita if it comes up, because that's just how I read it. So, but before we get that sort of stuff out of the way, we'll do the nitty-gritty that we normally do. So if you want to get a hold of us about anything that is said in this episode or in previous episodes, or you want to hear in the future episodes, then just get a hold of us. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it's Blokebusters. You can go to blokebusters.com and check out our nice little website there. You can go to podbros.com and check our little presence out there, as well as some of the other great podcasts that we got there. And if you like what you hear and want to support us in a monetary way, it would be very, very nice of you. You can go to patreon.com/blokebusterspodcast, and even just $1 a month helps keep the light on around here. So, very much appreciated if you would be willing. And I think that's about it for now, so may as well dive right into Alita. So, directed by Robert Rodriguez, with a budget of $170 million and a box office worldwide of $394,045,732 US, and 20% of that is domestic within the US. And I'm honestly a little surprised that it's that low.
In America?
Yeah, mostly because of the people attached to it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not surprised that an anime adaptation didn't do phenomenal numbers.
I'd still say, even with the starts, the directorial alignment, all the people attached to this project, they really didn't push that part of it a lot. And even still, those people haven't done anything relevant in quite some time to where people were like, yeah, I would want to watch something about that guy. Because when you tell me that the director is Robert Rodriguez, I go, oh, the guy from Spy Kids? See, I know that's dumb because I know I've seen him do a bunch of good stuff. But it's that's where my mind goes, oh, yeah, Spy Kids. Wait, that was a terrible movie.
I remember when the trailers first started coming out, and it was being pushed as James Cameron sort of presenting, Robert Rodriguez directing Battle Angel Alita. So it was co-written by James Cameron. So it's kind of interesting that I saw that trailer and I saw a follow-up trailer, and I was like, okay, I know I'm going to go and see this just because of the aesthetic. But yeah, I guess I didn't think that most people, they're not focusing on, oh, okay, so this is sort of, this is being produced by James Cameron, directed by someone who can do some good work, and it's a subject matter that a lot of people won't know. So, yeah.
Anime project that's been adapted that people don't know? What?
I know.
Shocker.
So yeah, I think I think this will be an interesting one to talk about. So
I think so too.
So may as well cover the main cast of this. You've got Rosa Salazar as Alita, Christoph Waltz as Dr. Dyson Edo, Kian Johnson, and I was saying before we recorded, I'm moderately confident I've got that name pronounced correctly, as Hugo, and Mahershala Ali as Vector. And it was interesting to see him pop up because I only know him from Netflix at this point.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've seen it. I don't know him just from Netflix. I've seen him in a bunch of productions, but I've never seen it. He usually just does small roles, but he's generally a pretty solid actor.
Oh yeah. I mean, I knew him from Luke Cage.
Yeah.
He was very good as Cottonmouth in that. And he's also in House of Cards. And those are the only things that I've seen him in, although technically I have seen the Hunger Games film. So I've seen him in that, but I don't remember him in those at all. So I can't count those. But yeah, he does do some very good work in the things he's cast in. And the other one to really point out, Ed Skrein. So
he was great in this.
Yeah, we got Francis back. He's playing Zapan, which I will admit I misheard the first time they said his name. I was like, they've just got a character called Japan. That's weird. And then there's a few uncredited roles in this. Which,
really? I only remember right at the end. I'm not going to spoil it until we get to it, but the final reveal, that's a pretty big cameo.
Yeah. Well, I won't mention that one just yet then, but the other two, you got Michelle Rodriguez, and she is someone called Gelda, who is the person that is basically training and leading Alita.
Oh, okay.
So there's her, and Jai Courtney is one of the Motorball champions.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's just kind of a random thing. I did not catch those at all when I was on there. But all right, so yes, I may as well start here by saying, so what was your initial thoughts going in to see this?
Can I be honest?
Yeah, go ahead. That's the whole point.
I didn't want to see this thing at all. Everything about this movie screamed like I was going to have a terrible time.
So none of the marketing or anything like that, none of that appealed to you when you saw it?
None of it appealed to me. I wasn't even a fan of the source material. I kept looking at this and going, oh, this looks like the worst possible thing you could have put your money towards. Especially when they reveal, okay, here's all these heavy CGI characters, and then we're going to have our main lead actor. Oh, my word, why are you doing anime eyes? Why? This does not bode well for you. Which is, really, really weird, because if you look at the main actress, she does look like her. You didn't have to exaggerate her. I don't understand. Even after finish, I'll save my follow-up comments about the movie but I look at the main actress and I look at Alita and I still am absolutely baffled as to why I appreciate the director and the team wanting to stick to accuracy of the character, but the person they got looked almost like her, so why do we have to exaggerate her face? I'll leave it at that. I'll leave my comment there.
Okay. And for myself, I had never read Battle Angel Alita, or Gunm, as it's known in the original Japanese. And I probably mispronounced that, but it's Gunnm. It's the title of it there. But pretty much everything about this is the sort of thing I'm interested in. So
really?
you've obviously got the sci-fi stuff, which is great. I especially love the source of future that you find a lot in Japanese manga, where it's the very dystopian version of the future. There's always someone that made off really well, but the manga stuff almost always focuses on the people that have been downtrodden and are just trying to survive in this world that is not made for them anymore. Mm-hmm. And it also has a kind of steampunky element. It's not exactly steampunk, but it kind of feels like that, and I'm quite into that sort of stuff as well. And you've also got like androids fighting other androids, and so you can just visually you can get away with a lot of stuff that if it were a human ripping another human's arm off, like it would be an instant R rating. You wouldn't be able to like show much, but you can really.
Can we talk about that for a sec?
Yes, you want to.
This movie, for being PG-13, is shockingly gory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was quite shocked. Like, that guy just ripped it in half, like in blood, or like the quote blood and guts flying everywhere. I'm like, wow, you got away with a lot for a PG-13.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like it's very much the fact that we know that almost all of the characters in this film are either effectively immortal or they are just in robot bodies. So you can get away with mutilating them because you're not mutilating them, you're mutilating a shell, effectively. Like to borrow from Ghost in the Shell there, you're just destroying some robotic parts. Now, realistically, yeah, it's still, it's still a bad thing. It's still heavy on the violence. It is technically gory, as you point out. Like when you have the fluid and stuff flying, it's just not red, so it doesn't give that visceral feeling that blood does when you see that going. So, but yes, they definitely got away with more, as I figured they would, and they still managed to keep it as PG-13. Although I still don't fully understand the systems like over here, because compare it to Europe versus America. There are so many different things that Europe are like, yeah, that's fine, but when violence starts getting involved, you then.
So what's it rated overseas? Because I know, like in America, like this is like, yeah, this is violence, whatever, so they let this pass. But like I know overseas, like shooting and violence like that gets really censored. So like, is like the British community, not British community, over in like the London community, got like a harsher rating?
Well, I'm not 100% sure. Let me do a quick check here. If I can, I'm trying to find out what the rating is outside of the US, and it's apparently kind of difficult to do so unless this website will load up. But yeah, it really is. It's a 12A, so yeah, I can see that. And yeah, for anyone that needs a refresher on the ratings. In the UK, you have U for Universal, PG, parental guidance, and then 12A means anyone under the age of 12 needs to come with an adult. And anyone over the age of 12 can see it by themselves. Then you have 15, which means you need to be 15 or older, and you have 18, which means you need to be 18 or older. And you cannot get into a 15 or an 18 if you're under those ages, under any circumstances.
So it's equivalent to what we got over here. That's kind of interesting.
Although over here you can take your 5-year-old to see an R-rated film as long as you're older than 18.
That's not the problem with that.
It's ridiculous. Like when I went to see Deadpool, there were people in there that were watching it with their 8-year-old kids. It's like, this is not the right place for you, but clearly they were just like, no, we'll just take them because I want to see the film. Whereas in England, if you show up wanting to watch Deadpool with your 8-year-old kids, they're going to say, no. Sorry, that person is clearly not 18. They're not getting it. So, as it should be, to be perfectly frank. But yes, this film, as I was saying, most of what I was seeing in the trailers made me realize like this is the sort of film I'm going to want to see. Now, I had no idea if it was going to be a film that I would thoroughly enjoy from beginning to end, or if it would look the same as it did in the trailer, because there have been many times where you see a trailer and you go, "Oh, that looks fun," and then you see the film and you go, "Oh no, what happened?" But yeah, I think we can probably just get into the film now. Then you can work out whether or not we enjoyed it from there. So, what would you like to talk about first? Anything jumping to mind?
I want to start with the atmosphere that they set up right off the bat.
Okay.
Just for the fact that like it opens up on that whole junkyard scene. Like, really, I would like to just dive into the discussion of the manga versus the movie, but I didn't know if you're okay to move to that subject matter.
Sure. Let's put that kind of in the middle.
Yeah. Okay.
For now.
But like the thing I'd like to just point out, like I was just surprised how, like, so like right off the bat, I really went into this movie with a lot of negative feelings, and surprisingly, right from the get-go, I really got into how they really humanized this story right off the bat, with him finding the head and then just taking it back to his workshop and then working it from there. For some reason, like just the way they set that whole scene up, I was thinking like this is gonna be cheesy as crap and all there, but they really took it very seriously, and I can really commend them. Like I actually was like really believing like this guy was just like, I just found this and I just want to bring her back. I'm not trying to be weird or anything. I just found her and I want to see if I found that she's alive and I'm going to try to give her a body.
Yeah.
So I was just surprised how off the bat that for me coming in with a lot of negative thoughts, I was surprised like how quickly I got put into the right mode of like, all right, I'm drawn into these two characters. I'm in for what you're going to show me now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that I really enjoyed it just watching, because it's one of those things where if it were many other directors, I think you would have seen the entire Great War as like a 5-minute beginning of the film thing, and then like sort of some sort of big explosion, fade to white, and then you would have cut to him finding the body and all of that sort of stuff, and then you realize, oh, this is a long time past that. And the fact that we basically figure out what happened as Alita does, and we just get to see the world through her eyes. I thought that was really nice and a bit of a change of pace from how a lot of films are these days.
What? How are they today? Where they just spoon feed you everything and all that?
yeah, very much. Yeah, it's interesting, and I do think that a lot of the Marvel films and the way that those are going, I think it's starting to change it back so that people are realizing, oh, we don't need to give audiences everything up front now. Like, they're actually willing to sit and wait a little bit. And
but I think there has to be a fine balance of that. Like, you know, and I think that the movie, like you were getting at, like this movie really did know how to pace out the information in ways that were believable.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas you are discovering like she has this moment and she starts to remember stuff, but they don't spend enough time. Like you get that little snippet, but that snippet's enough to where like, okay, you've teased me, and it's wanting me to find out more, but I'm okay with what you gave me.
Yeah.
Now we're like, daggone it, I'm so annoyed you only showed me this much.
Yeah, and it's just, and you get to see the little flashes that she remembers as time goes on, things start to remind her, and very much like I would assume someone with amnesia would start to be able to get their memories back. It's things being in the same sort of scenarios, and it's like, oh, like that triggered something. Like, never having had amnesia, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that feels organic. So it was nice to see, and I think I'll touch on the thing that you brought up where you were not really enjoying at the very least to start with. I don't know if you changed your mind on it at all when you were watching the film, but the way that they had the eyes for Alita. I think, having read some of the manga now, I can see that, yes, they started off with someone that looks very similar to Alita anyway, but it felt like they were really, really trying to be like, okay, this is Alita from the manga, like, this is her. Because having now read some of the manga, the eyes in the manga are exactly the eyes that you see on screen. So I was okay with it anyway, even before having read the manga, because it was like, oh, well, she's clearly not human, and that's the way of distinguishing it. It was like, there's something off about her.
So I did it kind of, as we keep talking, I did enjoy the movie, but what really throws me for a loop, though, is like, okay, we are dedicated solely to Alita looking like her character from the source material, which is good and commendable, and I appreciate that. But then, like, the other characters, they took a lot of creative liberties, and I was perfectly okay with those creative liberties, though.
Oh yeah.
So like that's why I'm jarred on like what things we decide to be super super accurate on, and certain things where like, yeah, we'll do creative liberties here and there.
Yeah, and I do think that at least in my opinion, as I was saying, I think that one other aspect of having her with these giant eyes is that it's then obvious to everyone else that she's not fully human, or don't know, so there's something different about her, and that is another hook that makes people interested in her and being like, oh, okay, well, she's not human, she's clearly a cyborg, and then that plays into.
But we're in the world of cyborgs, though. Yeah. There are hundreds of cyborgs in this movie.
Oh, yes, we are, and that's the thing. All of those cyborgs are. Okay, not all of them, because some of them quite clearly aren't really human, but all of them have very human characteristics to them, and I felt that having the eyes, as well as being a brilliant nod to the source material, is another way of showing, okay, she is different, because all of the other androids or cyborgs and all of that, they all have at least human eyes and generally human faces for the most part, and she just has these giant eyes, so it's like, okay.
And I can get behind that. That I can get behind you on that. It's just, for me, it was still too jarring.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I fully admit it is a little odd even now to see anime eyes on screen.
Yeah.
You're sort of expecting the word senpai to come out of her mouth at some point.
Nissan.
Oh dear.
That would be creepy. She says, Nissan, senpai-san. Like, no, stop. Yeah, this is not okay.
No, where's this going now? What are we doing?
Yeah, I know. We've entered the dark hell of anime.
One thing that I was going to say, that I felt every single trailer I saw was able to completely keep it a surprise, which was Christoph Waltz's character actually being a bounty hunter.
Yeah, they actually surprised me when you really think about it. They didn't spoil a ton from the movie.
Yeah, and they even had the scene where he's going up against the robot that's basically just knives, effectively, and you don't see the giant hammer that he's got in the scene. You don't see any of that. You just get to hear him yell to Alita to run. And I thought that was a really cool reveal. I knew nothing about that.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see.
I just thought the fight scenes in this movie, despite how you might come away feeling, you can't deny these fight scenes are damn impressive.
Oh, yes. They are.
Oh.
They're gorgeous to watch. They really are.
You're like, wow, we've come a long way with animation.
Yeah, and
it's like, whoa.
I even spent the extra $1 to see it in 3D.
Oh my.
Yeah. And yeah, I was a little worried, like having seen the trailer, and there's a point in the trailer where it's like, oh, that's clearly made for the 3D audiences, which is when the guy is firing the chains towards her, and like you see her diving through them. And it's like, oh, okay, chains coming at you, typical 3D type thing. But again, I think 3D is going a good way now, where rather than having the gimmick of, ooh, it's coming at you, ooh, look at that, it's now more depth of field and just trying to get that more rich texture to the screen. Mm-hmm. And I thought it did it really well. And they had a couple of bits where things are coming at you, but it wasn't directly into your eyes. It was just coming towards the edge of the screen type thing. So I thought it was money well spent for me. Now, I did go and see a matinee show, which means that it wasn't as expensive as it would have been if I'd gone at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. So
you got the cheaper deal than I did. I went and saw it for $12, and I was the only person in the theater.
Oh, yes. My ticket was half that.
Yeah. So. Oh, well.
I did have a day off in the middle of the week, so that probably helped.
Dang you. No, that's all right.
The perks of working in the school.
I work for the county, man. I get days off too. We haven't had any holidays lately.
See, I feel like this film visually is just stunning to watch, and I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I can't fight you on that one. It's like visually, the atmosphere nailed it. Yeah. It's for a movie that's essentially a very brown and gray. They really make it pop, and it doesn't feel like you're like each scene and each part of the movie doesn't feel out of place. They feel like it truly feels like an interconnected world.
Yeah.
And you're not like, oh, we're now in this just new set. Like when you get to a new part of the area, it's like, yeah, I can believe this is part of one cohesive world with the colors and the lighting and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they've got very clear, defined styles to each area. I mean, you've got the area which is just where all of the humans live, and that's got a fairly, I don't want to say like whitewash over it, but it's got that filter to it that makes it just look a little bit gritty. And then when you go into like the saloon, that's got that sort of a darker tint to it, and then when she drops down to fight with what was his name? Grishka, I believe was how you said his name.
Creepy, bulky dude.
Yeah, basically. When you went to fight creepy, bulky dude, and you were down in this area that clearly no one had really been in, and it was kind of lost to the ages, as it were. There was a very interesting, a lot of deep blues and stuff down there that you didn't really see anywhere else. So,
yeah,
they really knew how to use their color palettes.
For an underground fight, like they really, I was curious, like, okay, how are they gonna do this part? But like, they had the perfect ambient lighting. Like it was still dark enough. Like, yeah, you're in a bunch of tunnels, so you're not gonna have a ton of good light. But they still knew how to light the scene well, so that you could enjoy what was happening on screen. It was semi-believable, like given the massive fight that was going on, and how epic it is to see like someone stab a person in the eye with a robot arm.
Yeah, with your own arm, just like
yeah.
There we go. Yeah, it was. It is just really cool to watch, and it's kind of the same. It definitely reminded me of the 1995 Ghost in the Shell anime, when you have her fighting that giant spider robot, and her limbs are starting to come off and stuff like that. That's what that fight really stirred in me when I was watching it, and it was really cool to see, especially when she starts just using her one arm to stand.
Yeah,
it's like, wow, it's clear she's she's still willing to give it her all to fight back, even though she's down to one limb.
They made her really spunky. I was very surprised at the character in herself. Like, for a cyborg with amnesia, like, I really was curious if they were going to go with the robot discovering her humanity. Right off the bat, she had a lot of her humanity, a lot of her grit, she had a lot of well-defined character traits right off the bat.
Yeah, and it was interesting as well because one thing, we say spoilers, could we do that, but spoilers for the whole thing. So we find out that she's technically from Mars, but she has a human brain. So
that's the only human part of her, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, the only like human part of her that's left is the brain. That was fully intact inside this shell that she was found in. So, and they never explain it in the film, but I can only assume that some humans migrate to Mars, and then there's a schism of some kind which leads to the fights and the Great War and the Fall, I believe is what is known.
When we get to the manga, I did a little research on there's apparently 3 parts to the story.
Ah, okay, so the adventures continue in the manga, but
yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, and they don't cover that at all in the film, which again I was okay with. It's like,
they were setting it up. You know, we got the flashes here and there.
Yeah, and so, this sort of thing happened, and I think through understanding that Alita was human, but we find out, well, she was fighting on the other side. So it's okay, clearly there's way more here than we're going to end up getting.
Yeah.
It was cool just to see all of this come together. And okay, aside from Alita, just in general, because obviously, fantastic character and all that. Who was your favorite cyborg character in the film?
Oh, the guy with the Damascus sword.
Zapan.
Yeah. I just like that actor. I think he really, really embodied that whole just jerk for a jerk's sake. Like, he really embodied what that character was. And it seemed like he went over the top with his acting, but I felt like it wasn't out of place. Like, he was that's how that kind of character would have been, how he would have been acting. Like, I really bought he was like a villain in that movie.
Yeah.
Like, I had a lot of fun. And not only that, I loved his design for his back. Like, man, that's a cool design to his whole body.
Yeah.
Fighter. The fact that the only human part of him was his face.
Yes, his perfect face.
Yeah. My face. Again, gory moment. Like, that guy's face got sliced off. Yeah. It's not even slightly his tongue is just hanging out of his face as his face is laying on the floor. Like, oh my word. That got gritty real fast.
Yeah, although it's it's got holding your face in your hands. There's a completely different meaning now.
Well, it just makes you wonder if he'll come back or something like that. I don't know, but that's
possibly. I mean, I don't know if they've announced any form of sequel.
I don't know either.
Like that. I'm not even 100% sure where they would go with that.
Well, there's plenty of source material. There's still there's 9 books in the whole series, and as far as I can tell, they adapted the first 3. I can't tell. I just started 3, so.
Right. Yeah. No.
But
I think I'm halfway through 2 at the moment, maybe.
So for sequels and stuff, I think that there's a strong possibility that will be a sequel just from the overseas box office. If Pacific Rim could get a sequel based on overseas market and based on the budget, they've doubled their budget, so
yeah,
I don't know.
And that's just so far. That's not even with home box office and stuff once that starts coming out.
So I think that there'll be a sequel, and I kind of hope there is, but that's
I hope so because they've apparently announced that they have plans for Alita Battle Angel 2, and the casting of the other person that we haven't mentioned yet in the non-speaking role was intended to be a setup for the sequel.
Which I kind of want to see him in that role, but we'll get to that.
Yes. Alright, well, this may as well be a good point then to talk about the manga. So obviously you've read a bit further than I have at this point, but so what are your thoughts on the adaptation so far?
I'm gonna be honest. Like, I think I preferred the movie adaptation over the manga.
Okay.
Because I'm generally a purist, and like I like to read the original material, and I generally find the original material more satisfying, more engaging. The manga is just very all over the place. Yeah. It's like, well, we're following this story, then we're gonna hop over to this story, and like the plot elements that they adapted to this movie, some like the boyfriend character, he's only in like the second book, and even then he's only like got small cameo roles, and his story wraps up super quick. But here, like in the movie, like they really fleshed it out. Like, yeah, she kind of knew him. He was in the town, and they had a few interactions here and there. I actually really bought that these two were like, yeah, these two would have been friends. These two actually did grow to care for each other. They both really saw the struggle they were both in, and they wanted to help each other out. I actually bought it. I wasn't a fan of it, but I bought it. Because I saw the trailers for it. I'm like, oh, this looks like one of those forced romances and all that. And it turns into a romance, but I felt like it was a natural romance versus like forcing it upon the two. Like they both had enough time just as friends to where they finally progressed into a relationship.
Yeah, and I did follow it, and I did enjoy that Alita, when sort of learning about some of the things he did struggle with them, but was still still her enough that she was like, yeah, I know you did these things, but you did it to get to this place that you want to go to, and I still want your dream to come true, type thing. So like she's relatively young enough. I mean, she's effectively was born like a few days ago. So it's like she was,
even though she's like 300 years old, she's still got like the mind of like a teenager.
Yeah, so she's not mature enough in those respects that she's fully able to react the way that a 30-year-old would under those circumstances.
No, but like so like in the manga, like it literally goes like, I had this crush on this kid, and then they show the whole plot line with Vector and all that. That just occurs over just a few small chapters, and then it just progresses into like where he finally gets his head cut off and all that, and gets a body. It's just like bam, 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 chapter after chapter. Here it felt like it was we were slowly in they took a lot of creative liberties with the characters. And I felt like the creative liberties actually served to help the story more and help to flesh out the world better.
Yeah, I mean, it was good.
Vector didn't show up till later, and I actually like preferred Vector's character just kind of popping up here and there, like that, to establish like in the comic he just kind of shows up and like, oh yeah, he's just this big league guy, and you're supposed to take it as that. But here we saw him playing the role. He was being that character, and you got to see him being like the villainous dude. Here at this moment, so you actually bought that he had been established as this black market stealer, that he had been here for a long time, and he's moving up in the world.
Yeah, and it was interesting as well because Vector, it was quite clear, has been a force in this area for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's taken over for most of the time we see him by Nova, and there are even some times where you see him on screen and you're not 100% sure if he's Vector or Nova at the beginning of a scene. You figure it out fairly quickly, but it was interesting to have a character that, and it obviously was a good way of showing just how much power Nova has.
It's just crazy to think, like, when we've both read the manga, Nova doesn't show up at all in the first two volumes. So I like the idea that they were like they found ways to tease this character and his role in the future things, because as I've learned from just researching the source material, that he does play a huge role in the story. So I like the idea of like, rather than just like the characters popping up, like let's just tease him here and there. We'll show that he has this power. Like I like when, like what I've been alluding to is where we slowly reveal what the power structure in this world is. What is these, like when I came away from this movie, I understood the world, I understood the myths, the legends, I understood the social class system, I understood how people got to where they are and why they're there. And it was just kind of through background information. They didn't shove it in my face. They were just very smart about how they planted the seeds, and I understood how this world really worked through natural integration.
Yeah, I mean, can't really put it better myself.
Yeah, sorry.
That's fine. Yeah.
But it's funny because like when I read material, it just hops all over the daggone place, and I get really, really annoyed because after I watched the movie, now read this comic, and I go, man, this pacing is atrocious. But when I go, like, let's see, when I read through the comic, I was just like, oh wow, this is way more violent than I thought it'd be. Because I watched the movie, it's like, well, the comic can't be this violent. And I found, I was like, no, it's actually more violent. It's like quite more gruesome in the comic than it is in the movie. I'm like, okay. That person's face just got smashed in. Like the whole body scene. Like how Alita, like I was really shocked. Like when I watched the movie, like okay, she has this body, has all these intricate carvings, and I'm reading the comic, and the way we find out how she gets her arms is there's a creature killing these ladies, and like you find out all of a sudden that the doctor got those robot arms. He's slowly building her over time, versus just he had the body. I kind of like where they just took that he had the body just because of his daughter, versus the whole he just kind of hobbled her together.
Yeah, it was interesting the thing that they had there where it was the body and we see there was the daughter. There was something that was changed from the manga that I am okay with, because it gave the character of Ido, like it was way more of showing him caring that much about Alita.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe, and unless I'm getting it completely wrong, I believe that in the manga that Alita, or Gali as it is in the manga, was the name of his cat.
Yep.
So yeah, so okay, like if that was the case in the film, it would have been more of a funny thing than something that he's putting this name onto her now, and it's like, okay, so it's almost like a second chance for him to be the dad,
to be a father. Yeah,
wasn't able to be anymore.
No, but so let's talk about Ito for a sec. Like when he was, I was really stunned. Or like, okay, so this guy's a bounty hunter and a doctor. What's up with this? And then when I read the manga, like they talk about how like I was like, it seems weird that he has this bloodlust. I believe more that he seeks out vengeance as a way to get his anger out. And the manga, he's like, I just secretly liked killing people. I don't know how to explain it. So I was like, that's why I like the creative liberties they took with it. It's like in the manga, he just likes killing people. That's the simple short of it. It's like, I just like hunting people and killing them. I don't know how else to tell people, but I do. Here, and it's like, I lost my daughter, and I sought out my vengeance, and then I turned it into a living. It's like, I can believe that more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that I think that would have... I can fully understand why they didn't put that in the film, because that would have been one too many cases of, I think, just corrupting everybody. Mm-hmm. It's something you see every now and again, is that there can never be someone who is wholly good.
Yeah.
Whereas in this film, I think really the only two people that you can say are, okay, three technically, but one of them barely gets any screen time. The only three people you can say are just like wholly good people that are genuinely, like, they don't really seem to have any like any traits to them that are like quite bad, and they are Alita and Ido's assistant, who you only see a couple of times, but she seemed fine. Like,
yeah, which I think from the manga, they just took that really grumpy old man and turned her into that female African American woman. It's like, oh, okay, I'm okay with it. I don't care.
yeah, whatever.
Like, that character didn't really play a role, so it's like, if we're gonna recast it and change it, like, all right, fine, do it.
Yeah, why the hell not?
Nice, yeah. No, but like, you know what scene really caught me off guard? Like, thinking of the manga versus this, like, I love that scene where he just feeds her an orange.
Yeah.
I really was like, here the comic, they don't really play up like her kind of rediscovering who she is. I felt like that was a very intimate moment in a scene for her to just like, oh, I really like this orange and I really like chocolate. Like, letting her discover bits and parts of her humanity and her body, I guess, through like these small little scenes. That doesn't happen in the manga at all. It's like, yep, I'm just a bounty hunter, and I just go about my business. I have this rockin' body I'm going to go kill now. It's like, oh, okay.
I did enjoy that, and especially when it comes back. So you've got that scene where he feeds her the orange, and super into it. It's really enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then later, when Hugo asks, so what's your favorite food? And she just goes,
do you have any chocolate?
Orange. Oh yeah, that's, I think, the only food she's ever had. And it's like, okay, no, we're not letting this stand. Chocolate.
I like that scene. It's like, do you have any chocolate? I thought it was just, it was a cute moment. It's like, okay, I can get behind this.
Yeah, and that Ido is just like, you can tell he'd never said anything, but you can just tell in his face, like, how do you know about chocolate? Oh.
Yeah. No, here's the thing that the manga does better than the movie, though, and I'm kind of sad that we didn't really see it, because you were talking about like him being the bounty hunter, which is cool when we finally discovered it, but in the comic, he's like way more capable. He can actually hold his own here. He's like, I might get a hit or two in, and then I fall on the ground.
Yeah, I feel like they weren't really sure what to do, and they wanted Alita to just come in and save him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like, if he was someone that was going out and being a bounty hunter, he would have been able to do a bit more than he did in the film.
Yeah.
Even just being, he was ganged up on by it was three people, but only fighting one at a time. And he still was having trouble
with a rocker powered hammer.
Yeah. Which, I swear I've seen before, like something very, very similar to that. I just can't place it right now. It was like,
Name 20 animes probably been in it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. It was just with that. I mean, maybe I'm getting flashbacks to Scott Pilgrim versus the World. With,
that's a fantastic film.
Yeah, with Ramona and her giant mallet.
Yeah. I'm going to go watch that sometime soon.
Yeah, I need to rewatch that too.
But, so Ito was... I liked how they treated his character. They treated him with respect, even though he was he's essentially the father figure. Because in the manga, they really treat him up to, like, I'm just training her to be a doll. And then she confronts him about it, and he's like, okay, I can't treat you like a doll. He's like, okay, she's not my daughter, but I have these positive feelings toward her. And I might put my will occasionally, but he does let her be an adult.
Yeah. It is interesting to see, because he clearly just wants to protect her, and yet as the film goes on,
him.
he realizes that as much as he wants to protect her, the way she is, like, he's never going to be able to. So he comes to accept that if he can't protect her the way he wants, he's going to help her.
Yeah,
as much as he can. So it was good. It was good to see that. And I think the only other thing that we can really cover here. What did you think of the big robot fighting league, effectively? Was it Motherboard, was it?
Yeah, I liked it. I like I said, I've always appreciated this world. They really fleshed out that this is something that people would do for fun. They fleshed out like this world has bounty hunters. There's no guns. There's people, robots just hunting other criminals and taking them out. But the not so much the ball scenes, but like I appreciate like just the scenes in general, how they're choreographed. I always believed what was going on screen. It's like, yeah, I can believe a bunch of robots are just straight up murdering each other on screen for the entertainment of the masses in the hopes of going up to, what was it, Zalem?
Zalem in this,
yeah.
Yes.
So like, all right, I can buy this world.
Yeah, and it was interesting to watch because going into when she's trying out for Motorball and you realize that literally everyone else on the track is going to be trying to kill her.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, how is she going to get out of this? Because we know she's going to. It's only halfway through the film. They can't help that. It's like,
I'm still surprised, like how, because as soon as when I figured out, it's like, okay, we're going to incorporate the scene where her boyfriend's just on the run and she's got to compete in this competition. And Ron's like, okay, this feels kind of forced. But actually, like, as the scene was playing out, I go, this feels natural.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, oh, here we go. It's going to be one of these forced scenes. Like, I'll finish the race, then I'll run out to him, and then I'll catch up to him, and I'll be too late. I'm like, okay, I see where this is going. But much to my surprise, they're like, nope, we're going straight to the church. She's going to go find him and then help protect him as much as she can.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I have to give you credit. I actually bought this whole setup and this scene and this fight.
And one thing I found kind of funny is that when they end up going outside, the commentator is still going on about it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, wow, yeah, this is not,
Oh,
I don't think we've ever seen
arena.
that before. And then it's like, that's just over. You can't
Yeah.
hear that anymore.
It'd be like, oh no, what do I talk about now?
Yeah, it's like he's so excited, like this is something we've never seen before, and then like, if you actually think about it, like he's gonna watch these people leave and then realize there's nobody left on the field, and like that's it. Like, it's just like, next round. Like I'm not quite sure where you go from there. But yeah, it was good to see that rather than be that thing of like, oh no, I'm gonna defeat all these guys, win the race, and then race off. It was like, nope, like this is clearly, for her, the second she realizes he's in trouble, getting out is her number one priority. So it's it's nice.
Can we talk about the one forced scene where like he goes to his friends like, I'm out, guys, I have to leave this. So like he couldn't have done this any other time. Any other time.
He had to do it in person because there's no way of contacting someone outside of that.
Yeah.
We don't see that at all any other way.
No.
Not like he calls Alita on the phone when she's in the middle of something. It has to be when they're in the middle of trying to kidnap a robot and take his parts. And it has to be like, at this point in the film, it's like, no, sorry.
That's when I was like, this is nope, hard nope.
It's like, the rest of the film pacing works really well, and they've got everything down, and then that is the point of the film where everything does kind of just grind to a halt for a second, and then it kicks back up when he escapes and Zapan is now going after him. But it was like, you couldn't just have had Zapan go to him and just not bother with him saying, I'm out, because at the point that Zapan is after him, it doesn't matter whether he's in or not. Like,
though I won't lie, when his friend gets cut in half, I'm like, whoa, I did not see that coming. That escalated quickly.
And I think that's one of the very few times in the film where you actually see a human person dying.
Not only just a human, he brutally died, man. Like, just straight up, you just get cut in half.
Yeah, it's like, zip, you're done.
So should we just talk about how we felt at the end of the day after we watched it? Like, do we feel better having seen this, or do we say that it's a hard skip?
Very last thing, yeah, we didn't...
Oh, sorry.
I was like, we didn't mention it in the thing, and we were skirting around it the entire thing. So, in the end, we finally get to actually see Nova.
Yes.
And it's Edward Norton. Okay.
When I saw that was him, I'm like, okay, if you had a sequel, I bet you can get a ton of people in for that.
Yeah.
Because...
Edward Norton as an immortal mad scientist. Like, yeah, I think that could work quite well.
No, and I especially like, you know what was funny? Like, we get to the end, and I saw all the trailers and her in that like purple outfit and all that. I'm like, that looks dumb. But really, when you get to that scene in the movie, it's like, no, that felt right, because like that's after her spending months and months working her way up in the ranks to get that one spot that takes them up to Zalem. Like, okay, I bought this scene right here, right now, that she's like basically pointing her sword up to the sky, like, I'm coming for you. It's like, okay, I was into this.
Yeah, and that was the thing as well. Like, they had it in the trailer, and it was that thing of like, I sat through the whole film and I was like, well, you get to the point where you're getting right to the end. It's like, okay, this is clearly an end of the film shot now, because there's no other place it could fit. But it was still cool to see, because now I finally got it. There are some trailers that show you the very end of film, and it just feels like, oh, you spoiled it, or it just doesn't feel earned when you actually get to watch it. But yeah, being able to see everything that led up to it, and then see it get onto the platform and light up the sword, which was just fun to watch. And yeah, you realize that no one in the crowd has any idea what she's doing means.
Yeah.
But the one person that does know, like, is up there looking down at her as she does it, and so it was cool. I'm interested to see what they do with the second one, if they end up actually making it and getting that done, which I really hope they do. And in case anyone hasn't figured it out from here, yeah, I like this film. I would definitely recommend this to anyone who... few caveats. You definitely have to like sci-fi. You have to be okay with a certain suspension of disbelief, because...
No, I don't think so. Because, like, I feel like the world is set up in a way, like, you don't... Like, one, you're going to see a sci-fi film, you have to have a suspension of disbelief right then and there. But, like, the world doesn't make you have to turn off your brain. Like, if I go to see Pacific Rim, you have to turn off your brain. This movie you don't have to. The movie you're watching is like, let's just go. Like, we're going to show you the world. We're going to integrate you into the world. We establish the rules, the boundaries, and the conduct. I didn't come away thinking I had to turn off my brain. It's like, I was engaged in the movie that kept me thinking throughout it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I kind of meant was, and I probably wasn't getting it across properly, is it feels like, if you're not fully following it, it feels like Alita has some of the best brand of plot armor in the world. But yeah, realistically, as you read through the manga, and hopefully they get to explore it even further, like, the reason she's so good at what she does is because of the immense training and conditioning that she's gone through, and the film doesn't give you that, except for a little snippet here and there. Yeah. So it's like, you feel like you're going to have to suspend that disbelief. And then you start to realize, oh, like, what they're doing is they're giving you enough to go on so you're okay with it. And then hopefully they'll delve. But
she wasn't a total Mary Sue, though.
Oh, no.
Like, the fact that whole scene where she gets just totally ripped in half, I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And she has to, like, yank off the ground with one hand and stab a guy in the face. Like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. she fully earns that plot armor, if you want to call it that, or that suspension of disbelief, because of her as a character. And that's something you don't see a lot. You can see a lot, especially in anime. You see a lot of people that have, fantastic plot armor, and there's no way they could get through what they do, but they do anyway. And they're just okay characters, whereas Alita is actually a phenomenal character to watch. And just the tenacity and drive that she has makes you perfectly okay with her surviving, because you just want to see what she's going to do next.
Yeah.
So yeah, I heartily recommend it. What about you?
I give it a recommendation on if you like good action scenes, if you like the dystopian future, and you want to see something that you've not seen before.
Yeah,
because I can't compare this to anything. Can you name any movie with like this type of universe with this kind of art style and decorum? Like, you know what, I can recommend it. Like, if you're wanting something totally different, I can't think of anything else that's similar to this.
Yeah, I mean, as I touched on before, the only thing I can think of that this reminds me of is Ghost in the Shell, and anyone that knows me knows that is a very, very, very good thing. So, like, I'm perfectly fine with this reminding me of Ghost in the Shell, and for anyone that doesn't know, Ghost in the Shell is my favorite anime of all time. So,
but is the movie good?
You mean the 3 anime movies? Yes, those are very good. I don't know what else you could possibly be referring to.
I'm talking about Scarlett Johansson. Come on, man.
Fuck that film.
No, let's be serious for a minute, though. This movie is probably the most faithful manga adaptation I've ever seen, and when it takes creative liberties, it does it for the better.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I was genuinely surprised, having read a little bit of the manga now, like at just how well they did that, as well as adapting it for audiences that have never read the manga, that might never read the manga, and just for general, adapting written to live action type thing. So it was very well done, and I will say possibly on par with, let's say, the Series of Unfortunate Events adaptation, in as far as taking the source material, being as close as possible, and then like being able to go your own way with it, and still in getting the feel of it down.
Yeah, I would argue that this is better than the actual the original source material. I still argue that I have more fun watching this than I did reading it.
I'll agree with you there. Like, actually reading it, you do get the problem with some mangas where, especially in an action scene, it can be a little difficult to tell exactly what's going on. And especially with Alita, some of the scenes I've seen, there's a lot of scenes where it's like, okay, I think I've got what's happened here. So I'm fairly certain I'm following this. And they have a lot of the big action shots and stuff like that, which is fine. But yeah, the film definitely has the right look to it, the sharpness to it, so you can really see what's going on, and just a fluidity to it that was very nice to watch. So yeah, I also agree that I think this is better. Like, watching this is more enjoyable to me than reading the manga, which is
usually not always the case.
No, yeah, sometimes not. I mean, let's see, trying to think of something that's the other way around. Like Naruto, I had as much fun reading the manga as I did watching the show, and that's with the caveat that I didn't watch any of the fillers. So
you didn't slog through that horrible 300 episodes log that I did?
No, I did not. I was informed before I started watching Naruto when Naruto ended based on the manga, and when and how to skip straight to Shippuden. So I watched Naruto from beginning of the series to where the manga finished, and I even cut out the filler that's in between that and went straight to Shippuden. So it was, I had as much fun watching the show as I did reading the manga. But definitely more fun watching this. So. And I don't think there's any high recommendation you can give for an manga/anime adaptation.
No, I'll admit that I'm not the biggest fan of the movie, but on its own merits, I still recommend it to people. Like, just because it wasn't for me, I still would say, like, I wouldn't discourage people from saying, like, you know what, this is still a solid, like, for me, I'd say it's a solid 7 out of 10. Was your scale -7?
We've done away with that for now.
Okay, so I'd say it's a solid 7 out of 10. But like on its own merits, if I were to to the general audience, like if with a different taste and all that, I think it could get like a solid 8 out of it. Like I really think it's a solid story with well done graphics. I wasn't a fan of like the way they did with the main lead, just from like the anime eyes and all that. But I can appreciate how solid they stuck to the reality of the world, how much they were committed to it, and the pacing and how they set it all up. I wasn't ever like, why are we here? What's going on here? How do we end up over here? Everything felt like a natural, cohesive story that was engaging and in a way that was enthralling, that you wanted to see where it was going to the end. You didn't feel bored through it.
No, definitely not. I think that's pretty much... That's pretty much all we can say about this film, then.
Say more.
Now we should probably let the people go. But,
all right, folks. That's all, folks.
Yeah. But if you enjoyed listening to what we said and want to get a hold of us about it, once again, you can get a hold of us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Blokebusters, or you can even email us at theblokes@blokebusters.com, because... we have an email. May as well get people to try and use it. So, yes, I think with all of that being said, I've been Paul.
I've been Pat.
And see you next time. Bye.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.